I hope to abolish the U.S. citizenship interview. SystemThe U.S. citizenship interview aims to screen qualified applicants and facilitate their integration into society, but its actual effectiveness is highly controversial. Can the interview truly achieve its intended purpose? Below are its main drawbacks for discussion. Subjectivity of the examiner leads to injustice. The results of the interview are often influenced by the examiner's personal biases. For example, in the English dictation test, a lenient examiner might tolerate 1 or 2 spelling mistakes in your words, while a stricter examiner may fail you on that part of the test. Some examiners focus too much on the details of the N400 form. If your answers are even slightly unclear, they might deem you unqualified, asking for additional documents or a retake. Examiners' biases or mood swings can also result in unfair treatment of applicants, with some people complaining, "I was unlucky to get that tough examiner today." Unfriendly to those with language barriers. The English test is particularly challenging for non-native speakers, such as immigrants living in Chinatown. Although there is an exemption for those over 65 who have lived in the U.S. for at least 20 years, many older immigrants from China, who have never been formally educated and cannot speak standard Mandarin, but only their local dialect, face rejection due to language barriers. It raises the question, can a brief English test really measure how well a new citizen can integrate into society? Anxiety and high psychological pressure, making the interview environment unsettling. Applicants face significant pressure in front of the imposing immigration office building, unfamiliar officials, long journeys, and strict security checks. These factors can be overwhelming for those with little prior experience dealing with the government. The varying accents of examiners, inconsistent with the audio materials used for practice, add additional difficulty for applicants with poor English. Many people fail to perform well due to anxiety, especially those who are not good at test taking or have social anxiety, making the interview an added burden. Resource waste and inefficiency. The interview requires significant human and material resources from the Immigration Service, and applicants must pay a $760 application fee. Additionally, there are travel costs, lost wages, and other expenses, making it a substantial economic burden for applicants. Some estimates suggest that the cost of the naturalization exam in the U.S. for fiscal year 2024 could reach billions of dollars. The Immigration Service handles over 1 million applications, with cumbersome processes from document retrieval to review, leading to severe backlogs. Some applicants wait months or even a year before receiving an interview notice. If they fail the first time, they must retake the test in 60 to 90 days, enduring long waits. Data from 2023 show that 10% to 15% of applicants fail their first interview. Imagine the emotional toll it takes on those who fail. Limited practical effectiveness. Relying on memorizing 100 civics questions and basic English to pass the interview may not ensure that successful applicants truly understand American values or are actively participating in society. For example, the question "Citizens have the right to vote" doesn't mean that newly naturalized citizens will necessarily vote. Research from the Migration Policy Institute, MPI, found that only 50% of new citizens vote within 5 years, raising doubts about the social education effect of the interview. Improving English reading, writing, and communication skills requires consistent long-term learning and practice, which cannot be addressed in a 30-minute interview. The brief interview time makes review superficial. Interviews typically last 20 to 30 minutes, making it difficult for examiners or applicants to discuss complex issues, such as criminal records or waiver requests, in depth. Misjudgments or lack of time can easily lead to unjust rejections, causing applicants to appeal or reapply. The actual review of applicants is based on extensive document retrieval and examination behind the scenes, making the interview largely a formality. The strict review process would still take place even without the interview. Repetition and redundancy increase the burden on applicants. Information already provided in the N400 form and FBI background checks is often asked again during the interview, raising the question of whether this is unnecessary. Applicants with poor English often rely on others to fill out their forms, and if the form contains inaccuracies, the applicant will naturally be penalized. However, the interview still repeats the same questions, unnecessarily complicating the naturalization process for those with language barriers. The citizenship test version is 17 years old. Is it outdated? W uses the 2008 version of the civics test, consisting of 100 questions, with applicants required to answer 6 correctly. The test was briefly updated in 2020, with 128 questions and 12 correct answers required, but it was deemed too difficult and discarded, returning to the 2008 version. In an era of rapid AI development and significant social change, outdated content and methods may no longer meet modern needs. Conclusion. In conclusion, the U.S. citizenship interview system is subjective, inefficient, unfair to those with language barriers, and has limited social education effects. It consumes significant time and resources, acting more as a formal hurdle than a reliable tool to measure civic qualifications. In U.S. history, during the 18th and 19th centuries, naturalization only required written applications and oaths, without interviews. Applicants who became citizens at the time did not demonstrate moral failings or poor English abilities and were able to integrate into society just fine. Today, with the increasing maturity of artificial intelligence and the tightening of government budgets, it has become possible to abolish the interview system and improve automated reviews. This could save costs and help qualified individuals become U.S. citizens more smoothly. How do you think this system could be improved? Feel free to discuss.